Hi, Darin Mangum here, securities lawyer, Mangum and Associates. I've got Bryson Blaylock with me today. What's going on?
Hey, happy to be here. September 3rd here in Utah. Starting to feel like fall, done with the hot weather. But today we're going to be talking about really the security side of crypto and token offerings. So I talk to a lot of people who will call into me and they want to attach a token to their company, or they want to raise money, but they don't want to offer shares, they want to tokenize it somehow.
Right.
And so we're all familiar with the big ones like Bitcoin, Ethereum, even Dogecoin, but we want to focus really on attaching a token and raising capital and what we need to know when we're doing that. So Darin, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, we're super active in the crypto space. We've done lots and lots of cryptocurrency offerings or tokenized, any kind of digital assets related to blockchain and the cryptocurrency space. We've been very, very active. We're super big fans of that space and love to help issuers make sure they're doing it right. I've talked in a few other videos. We've talked about how the SEC's approach to cryptocurrency or to tokenized offerings, and really they apply the same rules that they do to really any sort of offering. And so the best thing to do is, hey, if you're going to be doing a cryptocurrency, make sure you talk to a securities lawyer, because securities laws are going to apply regardless, right? So, and that's obviously what we do, securities law. So what I thought we'd talk about today is just that as I talk to potential clients and clients, they typically want to, especially ones that are doing a tokenized offering, they want the ability to resell those tokens once they receive them. They want the ability to resell them on an exchange or on the open market and things of that nature, right? And in most cases, most tokenized offerings, especially ones that are done pursuant to exemptions from registration, like Regulation D, like Regulation S, like Regulation crowdfunding, all of these, because they're offered pursuant to an exemption, okay, they're considered by the SEC to be restricted securities. Restricted meaning there's certain restrictions that apply to resale, okay? And so the general rule is that the SEC wants to see the investment, what we call come to rest with the investor, and not be immediately flipped to what we call the secondary market, or a secondary market purchaser, right? And so, and again, some people are like, oh, great, I bought this token for $1, and now that I have it, I want to. Now I see maybe the market demand is higher. I want to sell it. I want to sell it for $2 or $5 or, what is Bitcoin, like $50,000?
We're up in the 50, 60 range now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, who wouldn't want that, right? So the only issue is the law requires you, if you're a purchaser of a token, pursuant to if you purchased it in an exempt transaction, then there's a holding requirement for holding it, and so so people are like, well, how long do I have to hold it? Can I resell it? And so we want to just cover there's three different rules or exemptions that you can use to resell those tokens. Okay, the first one is and I tell people, well, there's a 3-month window you have to hold it, a 3-month window, a 6-month window, and then there's a 1-year window, right? When I say window, meaning, oh, the window is now open to now I can resell it to someone else, right? And so the first one is Section 4A7 of the Securities Act. And what does that say? Well, it says, you can resell if you hold on to your token or whatever security. Again, these rules apply to any sort of security, notes, stocks, bonds, really any sort of security, but it usually comes up in the context of cryptocurrency, at least lately. But yeah, Section 4A7 says if you've held on to that security or that token for at least 3 months, you can now resell it to another investor as long as that person that purchasing from you is an accredited investor, right? And I don't want to go into detail on what is an accredited investor in this video. We've got lots of videos about that, but as long as that purchase is an accredited investor, well, great. Once that 3 months is up, I can resell it to that person. Great. So that's the first one. Second one is what we call Section 4A 1.5. And why do we say 1.5? Because there's actually, it's Section 4A1 and Section 4A2 kind of used together. So we, securities lawyers, we call that Section 4A 1.5, right? If you actually go look at the code or look at the law, there's no Section 4A 1.5, but you've got those two sections together. And basically, in a nutshell, what that says is, as long as it's a private transaction, and as long as I'm not deemed an underwriter, I can resell that after a 6-month hold, essentially. Okay, I can resell that interest. So that's the second one. The third one is Rule 144. Rule 144 is what we call a safe harbor exemption, meaning that the other two are statutory and obviously subject to interpretation. And there's lots of sometimes varying degrees of interpretation with those statutes, depending on who's looking at it, a court or a regulator or whoever. But Rule 144 is your safe harbor, meaning that, hey, it's a rule created by the SEC saying, hey, as long as you do these things, then we're not going to come after you. You don't have to worry about it, right? And what Rule 144 says, hey, as long as you've held on to it and you're not a control person, you're not an insider, right? Then yeah, you could resell that token after a 1-year hold, right? Now, if you are an insider, if you are a control person, meaning that if you own the company or you hold a significant equity stake or you own a lot of the tokens, right? Maybe you might be deemed an insider. You can still resell them, but after usually a 2-year hold, and even after that, you've got to sort of dribble it out. You can't just dump it all at the same time, right? And so, anyway, I know I'm really summarizing, a lot of this, but those are some major, what I call windows that would allow for you to resell those tokens that you've purchased in an offering, right? And really, you look at the long run, most issuers of securities, they don't want, if all of your investors dumped all of your securities at the same time, what would happen to the price, right? It just would go in the toilet, right? So anyway, it really does serve to your benefit as well to make investors hold on to it as long as possible. And, that way it makes a more even kind of a fair market in the secondary market, right? Anyway, but those are some, I think some important, things for people to be aware of.
Yeah, those are great points. And again, if you guys have any questions, please comment below. We're happy to take your calls, questions. Please subscribe and like. We want to keep helping you guys out and answering questions for you.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.